I will admit, making fresh popcorn at home is a little hard to replace. But going to the movie theaters with your significant other or with your friends is a difficult thing to replace. Going to the movies is a special thing to do, and that's why I bought AMC. See, I bought AMC well before it was a cultural stock, and I'll explain what I mean by that exactly later in this video. And I guess I'll also explain why I'm holding on to AMC now, mostly due to the fact that it is a cultural stock now. Let's get into it. So what convinced me to buy the AMC stock before it was a culture stock? Well, when I originally purchased AMC, I based it off of 4 major points, and what convinced me that it was a worthwhile investment. Well, first and foremost, I love the movies. I love going to the movies, even before the pandemic. I went to the movies almost once a week, if that, whether it be at Alamo or even at AMC. Number 2, the backlog of unreleased movies, whether that be Fast and Furious 9, Black Widow by Marvel, or even A Quiet Place Part 2 that recently released, and all were waiting to release when theaters were back open. 3, home sales versus theater sales. There's always the financial question, will you make more money if you have movies going direct to consumers? And even though that is more accessible and easily achieved, the bottom line is that having a movie be released in theaters generates far more revenue, both for the film producers and the film companies, but as well as for AMC and them as well, just through concession sales. And number 4, which is more of a adjacent route, was the booming and success that I saw with dating apps. You know, OkCupid increased by 700% in terms of user base, as well as video chat conversations on Bumble went up by 70%, which led me to believe that people are horny and are eager for some sort of connection. I believe that once the economy and the pandemic was over, people are going to be eager to go out on dates and go do things. And the easiest and traditional date idea that exists is, let's go to the movies. And so for me, that's what convinced that the possibility for AMC to go at my buy-in price of $2.87 made sense that it'll go above at least $2.87. So now that you know a bit about why I originally purchased AMC, let me explain what I meant by earlier when I said culture stock and the reason why I'm holding it. The next thing we're gonna talk about is technical analysis and culture stock and what really the difference is. Let's go for a walk. So a technical analyzed stock, what does that mean? Well, a technical analyzed stock is more of your traditional way of determining how valuable a stock is, right? So these are using your metrics of like EBITDA, like the bottom line, how much revenue, growth potential, all those fancy words that, you know, the smart people use. The benefit of a technical analyzed stock when it comes to investing in them, it's gonna be something that's a bit more of a consistent and steady growth. So you have way less stress about what's going to happen with your money. Will it completely tank, or will it slowly tank or slowly grow? The other factor and benefit is that these are going to be your long-term holds. So from a tax perspective, it's generally a lot better for you to do that because you'll be taxed way less, which essentially gives you an almost 10 to 17% gain because you're spending less on taxes. But the other thing though is that with these type of stocks, generally they're again a long-term hold, and you're not really going to see life-changing money with them in any time soon, unless you have a substantial amount of capital that you're able to put in early on. So that's a technical analyzed stock. And then you have culture stocks, and well, you get to be part of the 8 community. See, culture stocks are interesting because it's not really the normal thing that people talk about. And what makes a culture stock valuable is really the people and the community that goes behind it. And when we talk about in regards to AMC and GameStop, the culture that exists behind it is essentially a David and the Goliath scenario, right? Where you're having the retail investor having the opportunity now to essentially deepen our own pockets by penalizing and punishing the hedge funds and their greed that have put them into this place of overshorting a company. And so when you're able to be part of this community, when you're going to be part of a culture stock, the benefits that come with that in comparison to a technically analyzed stock is that you're able to have massive monumental gains in a short period amount of time with a very small amount of investment on top of it. Of course, dependent upon when you entered the market. And what that allows you to do is essentially have drastic growth as well as have drastic fall. So whereas a technical analyzed stock, you're kind of getting this consistent growth, way less stress, not something you have to check every day. The thing with the culture stock is that it can be volatile as heck. I mean, it is crazy. There's days where I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so close to retirement. And then there's the other days where I'm just like, oh my goodness, I could have bought a brand new computer with the amount of money I put into this. So it's definitely a drastic shift between a technical analyze and a culture stock. But the thing that keeps you around a culture stock is when the things are getting bad or people are being paper hands, is that you have the community to lean on and everyone else, which in itself makes it a very exciting thing. With anything, there's always exceptions. And for me and for many others, those exceptions include Tesla, AMC, and GameStop. See, Tesla, under the lens of your usual technical analysis, doesn't make a lot of sense. Something that's grown so explosively, yet when you look into their sales, it just doesn't add up, especially when Tesla is valued as the most valuable car manufacturing company in the world. But then you have very famous investors such as Michael Burry that believes it's worth shorting, and then the numbers for Tesla are heavily overvaluing the company. A quick blurb on Michael Burry. Michael Burry was famous for calling out the housing market crisis in 2008, and he heavily shorted the stock back then. Obviously, he ended up being right, while everyone else laughed at him during the period, allowed him to become a billionaire. Notably, if you want to know more about Michael Burry, there's a really good movie called The Big Short worth checking out.
Yeah, we're prepared to sell you $5 million in credit default swaps on these mortgage bonds.
Can we make it $100 million?
However, when it comes to the culture behind Tesla, it's extremely strong, but it also has many large traditional investment bankers and hedge funds who support it as well, even though the technical analysis for it isn't quite there just yet. The reason I also mentioned AMC and GameStop is because of the technical analysis that's been done by your non-traditional or your retail investors, and their ability to see an overshorted stock that was done by hedge funds. And this overshorted stock happened because their hedge funds' own greed and desire to short a company to potential failure, especially during a pandemic. All to say, this gives an opportunity to invest into AMC and GameStop and essentially allowing you to squeeze out the shorts that exist, which causes the hedge funds to cover their shorts, which is something they never want to do. And as Mark Cuban pointed out on a Reddit AMA, that the hedge funds' last thing on their agenda is covering their shorts. When it comes to finding these opportunities, it's not gonna be hidden away in some treasure chest. It's a lot about having a curious mindset and believing that there's opportunities out there for you. For me, this really started off with just asking myself, what do I like? What products do I believe in? What do I buy regularly? And by going through this process, I was able to look at markets and reflect on things that I already support. Movies was something I did routinely before the pandemic, and I very much remember theaters being packed with blockbuster movies making billions of dollars. Who in the world would leave from that in a post-pandemic world? This is also important even in things that you may not purchase. Most guys don't buy Lululemon, but I proudly do so.
What are you up to?
I was being a Becky. And all this to say, to look at products that others may find value in, but you personally may not. More than anything, seeking these things also means that you have to accept that the fact that you will and can be wrong, which means that you would also lose money. That's why I strongly suggest that you start off with things you yourself already believe in and that you're betting on. See, I believe in the movie industry, and more so than ever now, for the reasons I mentioned above. 1, I love the movie theaters. 2, the backlog of films that are ready to be released. 3, the immense amount of sales that happen going to the theaters in comparison at home is not even something to even worth comparing. Or for the fact that people want to go be social and go back to the movie theaters and go do things outside. But more than anything, number 5. See, after the beginning of this year and the market manipulation that occurred with GameStop and AMC and many other stocks by the hedge funds and Robinhood, it empowers all of us. and myself to hold on to this stock until it is worth what it's truly worth, after every penny is squeezed out from these hedge funds. So until then, I'll hold on to this stock with my diamond hands. Peace.